Just on that, just on a practical level, like you'll learn very quickly in the affiliate business, especially, or in actually, I take that back, in any business, but you learn it quickly, which is why we're so passionate about it, that a business is only as good as the number of customers it has. And that's what the skill of marketing teaches you to get. So if you're building a business that requires customers, which is any business, it needs money, it needs investment. And as long as you're taking that out, you're starving this baby that you've birthed. And, you know, you wouldn't not feed a baby in its first year or ever. So until it's generating enough revenue that you can still feed it and you can feed yourself, don't give up your job. And that's kind of, that's the big thing that people miss, especially when they've never had a business. And that's, you know, like Dan's journey, it was all in for him. And he'll tell you the stories. He was down to anxiety attacks at night, wondering how he's going to pay his rent. And like, that's just not my path. That's just not how I would want to play it. And especially if I had mouths to feed of my own. I luckily don't at this point, but that's a lesson that I personally believe that's why the statistics of businesses going under are so high, because that's just a lesson that new business owners that have never done their own thing before don't understand. I do other things to fund my overheads now, just to make sure I've got that peace of mind, because there's nothing worse than trying to build a business and you need a marketing budget, which is like oxygen for it, from a place of desperation. Like, it's just not worth it. So until you get it to that point where it's a stable bottom line, before you hire anyone, before you take money out for yourself, it's just not reality in any business. But with the affiliate model, especially in a lot of online businesses, you get there a lot quicker than you would with a cafe, which you'll never get there, or you know, lots of other businesses. It's the leverage is huge, so it's well worth it.
The other thing I wanted to say on that too is, in terms of quitting your job, should you build this around your current career or should you go all in on it now? Whatever. Always have your basic needs covered, no matter what. You get in a state where you're worrying about, as Amy was just saying then.
Your other wife.
I don't know why I keep doing this anyway. If you're in a place where you're like worrying about not being able to pay your rent, or if you're in a place where you're completely running out of money, you're bang out of integrity getting on the front end of a message to attract people into an income stream saying quit your job and all this, if you're flat out paying your rent and paying your bills for yourself. So for a start, it's lying. But secondly, you're not going to feel real comfortable about yourself. You know, you're not going to be able to get to sleep at night if you're out there with that message and you know, you're not covering your basic needs. So don't create a business and a message around all this quit job stuff if you know, you're putting yourself in a position where you can't cover your own basic needs. It's just.
But the other thing I would say to that is, if you're saying, and this is meant from a place of love and it's tough love, but your finances having competing needs is exactly what we want to get you out of. And so it's a case of just looking at your finances or looking at your life and seeing what brought you here and saying, well, how much, and prioritizing, and only you know what that means, because there's always, until you've got enough money, and what is enough, there's always going to be something that's competing for your finances and competing for your time. And that's exactly what we're here to show people, that they can create a life that's not dictated by that. So having an extra income stream, you know, how much of the pressure would that relieve, and how quickly are you willing to build that, which might mean sacrificing something else. And like I say, that is said with absolute love and the best intention to have your back, because sometimes we just need that someone else to point that out. You know, people talk about bills that are due, and when you get down to the brass tacks of what bills they are, sometimes it's a car payment on a BMW when they could quite easily be managing with a Ford, or, you know, I've certainly been there. And it's amazing how quickly you can free up cash flow for the sake of a year or 2 years sacrifice for the rest of your life being so much more stable. And that's a very personal decision, and everyone's going to have different priorities. Angelique said, sometimes I need a kick, repriorities. And that's where this community will have your back. That's why you need to lean into connecting in the community. You know, if you're at module 3, throw yourself into the 9-day video challenge. Don't be afraid to come out on webinars like this, share your story, because for the first time in your life, you might realize that there's people that actually support you in creating what you want to create here, rather than question it out of skepticism or fear that it's a scam. And they've got your back too, but they're living in their own fear of not fulfilling on something, and you might be the person that shows them it's possible. So, you know, we can have these conversations for hours on end, but just look at what you're here for and whether or not you're really prioritizing that, and what's going to change if you don't take that action.